Hi, I'm Nancy Norway, and this is Nancy Norway Presents Windmills. I've chosen the theme Windmills for 3 reasons. The first is that windmills are very beautiful. Everyone likes to see the windmill against the beautiful sky. And the people that will be on my show are beautiful people. Secondly, windmills are productive. If they're in the orange groves, they help bring up water to irrigate the groves, the trees. And they can also help grind grain at a mill. Out in the desert, they create electricity. So they're very productive, and the people that will be on my show are very productive people. The third reason I've chosen the theme windmills is because windmills are flexible. They have to shift with the wind in order to catch the wind. Sometimes life throws us curves that we don't want or expect, and we have to shift with the wind in order to keep going. The people that will be on my show will be people that have done this, that are making a positive contribution to the world around them. So for these 3 reasons, beauty, productivity, and flexibility, I've chosen the theme windmills. Would to God that all of our lives were beautiful like windmills. Our special guest today is Joan Eirich. She, with her husband, Peter Eirich, have just recently moved here from Germany, where they've been for a few years, and we'll be talking about that, to take over pastoring Vineyard Christian Fellowship in Burbank. So we're going to hear from Joan today. She'll tell us a little bit about things earlier in her life, as well as special outreaches that they've had to Romania while they were in Germany. Welcome to the show, Joan.
Hi, Nancy.
Nice you can be here today.
Thanks.
Why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your background?
Well, I had a pretty uneventful upbringing. I was born and raised in Oklahoma City, lived in the same house all of my life. And but as I became a teenager, things got a little rough, and I began to take a rough road and became involved in the hippie movement with the drugs and free sex and rock and roll. That's what we were all into at that time. And
This was the late 60s?
the late 60s, yeah. And so my life got kind of dark at that time, and it was a rough time for me, but it changed.
How did it change?
Well, in 1973, an old friend of mine who was also involved with this kind of lifestyle, he came and said that he had gotten religion, so to speak. And I had heard about this, and so I asked him to tell me about what had happened to him. And I asked him to show me in the Bible where it said all these things, that he said that you have to be changed, you have to be born again, and you have to receive new life. And so
did you know what that meant, be born again?
well, as he began to tell me, I was so hungry, so curious, so interested in what he had to say, that it began to make sense to me. And before that, I wasn't interested. But as he came and shared with me what the Lord had done in his life, the Lord Jesus, I wanted that for myself. And as he showed me places in the Bible about what Jesus had done for us, that he had died for our sins, and that he wanted to forgive us for all that we had done. And I knew the guilt that was on me. I felt the pressure and the heaviness of that. So I prayed that night to receive that forgiveness, and I tell you, my life took a different turn from that day on.
How neat. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So you asked Jesus into your heart. At what age was that now?
I was 18.
18. Oh, key age.
Yeah.
Changes the whole rest of the remaining part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What difference did believing in Jesus make in your life, like with your family or your behavior?
Well, it immediately changed my behavior. I was shocked myself the next morning. The next morning I felt different. I acted differently. I was different from the inside out. And I shared with my sister what had happened to me, and she told my little sister, and she told her friends, and pretty soon there were 9 kids in our neighborhood, all who'd had the same experience, who had been born again. And we got our Bibles and we began to go to the church in the neighborhood. Our parents were not real happy. They didn't understand this. They weren't too thrilled. But we began to do that, and from like I said, from that time on, my life began to go a different course.
So this was in the thick of the Jesus movement that they had back late
This
60s,
is-
early 70s.
That's what they called the Jesus movement. It was a revival that happened among young people who were involved with rock and roll and drugs and free sex. That was mostly the people that revival hit.
Right, that's true. And a lot of them, I think, have gone on to become pastors, evangelists. I know Greg Laurie in Riverside at Harvest came out of that. And Chuck Smith started Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa around that time, and it grew abundantly.
Right.
A lot of things came out of that movement. So then what happened to you?
Well, as I began to understand more things of the Bible and more things about Jesus and what he expected and what he had in mind for me, I guess I should say what he had as a plan for me. I began to work with people on the street. We called them street people back then in the 60s. And we established houses where we would bring them in and feed them and give them Bible study, and they would go to work with us so that they became more productive. And we would work together and do everything together. And that took me personally to many places in the United States that I'd never been.
Oh, interesting.
It was very exciting. And I met my husband through
Oh,
this
right.
ministry.
Now this is the Shiloh ministry?
This was Shiloh ministry.
Okay, and where did you meet him? What state were you in?
We were in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, okay.
Yeah,
Did he come there then?
Yeah, he had done a work project, and we were doing a work project to help support our ministry, and so we were there.
What's a work project?
We would find work that we could do together, communally or as a community. We would do it together so that we would have one another to help, because these were pretty desperate and messed up people from the drug scene and all.
Wow.
So
That's really neat. So these communes, so to speak, fulfilled a vital function.
yes,
Not only for helping them restore their lives, but also introducing them to Jesus Christ and the fact that they could receive forgiveness for their sins,
right.
have spiritual peace.
Oh, we saw many amazing miracles. The Lord changed lives drastically.
How neat.
And he's still doing that today.
When they came into these places to live, were they already believers? Or
No,
no.
no.
So they just came in because it was a free place to live and they were willing to contribute.
Right.
And then through the Bible studies they would hear.
They would hear, and they would. There were many people that were in the same position that I was, that when they heard the message, they said, yes, I need that. That's what I want. And they.
Oh, that's neat. So it was just a matter they'd never heard it before.
That's right.
Wow, that's exciting. How did you come from all of that to Germany?
We began to pastor a church in Salt Lake City, which was where we were sent through this ministry. There was a need there, and we were sent there. We pastored in Salt Lake City for 9 years and established a church there. And from there, we began to feel the calling of the Lord to foreign country. And my husband surprised me and said, oh, I've always felt called to European missions, and I was surprised.
Oh.
I said, oh, okay. So off we went.
How long from the time that he told you that to when you left?
Oh, about 2 or 3 years. We had time to prepare. We had 3 children at the time, and one was just a little baby, but they're easier to move when they're little.
That's
so
true.
We
and they go with you. They don't discuss it and have their own plans with their peers like the teenagers do. How old are your kids now? Tell us about your family now.
We have 4 children now, and 17 is our son. He's the oldest.
Andrew, right.
Andrew, and 13 and a half is our daughter Adrian. Our daughter Hillary is 9, and our baby is 3.
Right.
Grace.
Thank you. Great. So you just packed up your oldest 3 kids and went off to Germany, or you went under it wasn't the same ministry you went under to Germany, right?
Right. We that ministry that we had ministering to street people. When the street people weren't there anymore, we had not much to do.
That's a wonderful way to work yourself out of a job.
Yes.
Help all the street people.
Well, it was interesting. In the 70s, they were there. In the 80s, they weren't there. And now we see people.
Yeah.
It's
time
a different.
For another Jesus movement, whatever.
Time for another revival.
So then, what did you do?
Then we began to. We had to go around and raise support, and so we began traveling around, and within a year or 6 months to a year, we were ready to go.
And you went on your own?
We went over on our own, but we hooked up with other missionaries over there, and we learned the ropes from them. We worked mostly in the Eastern Bloc countries before communism was, when it was in being over there. we worked
Like
behind.
which ones? Romania, obviously. What
We
else?
were mostly in Romania. My husband traveled a lot to Poland. I traveled with him a few times. Mostly I was home with the children, but we went to Eastern Germany and
Yeah, I've been there too.
Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia at that time, and
Wow.
many of these places.
Okay. So you went to Germany as pastoring a church, and then in the next, we're going to hear a song right now, and then we'll come back and talk about your outreach in Germany and Romania. Right now, we're going to hear a song about children, because one of the things that Joan did was to go to a Romanian orphanage and minister there. So this song I wrote, and it talks about a lot of different people's perspectives on children. It's true, but it's also fiction. So it's true events that have happened to many different people, all incorporated into one song. Just a tiny baby in my arms, Lord. Precious one committed to my care. You have made this child, Lord, formed and fashioned him, and his angel watches o'er him everywhere. But they told me that I shouldn't have had this baby. 'Twould be as easy as could be to get rid of a child that was unwanted, and then I would be free. Though not always planned here, yet planned in heaven are the children of your will. Jesus, you really do love to bless them. You did then and you do still. My friend Sally and her husband Walter have desired children for so long, yet they still are childless, waiting, praying still, and they cannot understand what could be wrong. Oh, please comfort them, Jesus, and please show them that you love them very much, and remind them that you're still the Creator, and you haven't lost your touch. In the meantime, Lord, keep them in your patience and submitted to your will. May they worship you holy and sing praises till their emptiness you fill. Tiny children, some are dying now, Lord, from miscarriage, illness, lack of bread. They are going home, Lord, you receive them in, but please comfort those behind who mourn their dead. Other children are dying from abortion, from ill treatment and abuse. We are callous and oh, so very hardened, and our morals are so loose. We tend to overlook your tears of sadness, block out that which you would say. Oh, enable us, Lord, to love the children in your very special way. Jesus said, except ye be converted and become like children, you will not enter in my kingdom. And if you'd be great, then be humble like this little child I've got. Whosoever shall receive a little child in my name, like this one here, receiveth me. Whosoever shall receive me receives not only me, but him who sent me. Whosoever does offend one of these little ones that do believe in me, it were better that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he were drowned into the sea. Thank you for the precious gift of children. May we show them your great love and care. May we not destroy them, hurt, reject them, Lord. Even when they make us mad, please keep us fair. All the hurts we've inflicted on your children, we repent of, now forgive. And please help us from this day till you're coming, much more lovingly to live. Father, help us now to care for your dear children, just the way you want us to. Pour abundantly upon us now your Spirit, that in us they may see you. Welcome back to the show. Joan, please tell us now about your outreaches to Romania.
Well, first of all, how we got into Romania was through our contacts in Germany. We had gone to Europe to plant a church, to begin a church. So that meant we had to learn the language and everything. So we spent a long time in the culture. We had to learn that. So we went from Germany, through our church plant in Germany, we were able to make contacts. We wanted to do outreach from our German church into the European nations, which many are in very much distress.
So it was your church's outreach to
Right.
various European
Right.
nations. Okay.
And it happened that I was, through contacts there in Europe, I was able to be invited to this Romanian orphanage to do a seminar on training children, biblical principles for training children,
Wow.
raising them. And
Share some of that with us, please.
yeah, it was a wonderful experience. Many of us have heard the terrible things that are going on in the Romanian orphanages, and after many of the televised programs about that shut down all privileges to come in and to interview or to
wow.
observe what goes on in the orphanages.
Oh,
So
wow.
and so the conditions are, of course, they're even worse than they were.
Oh.
But there are many Christian ministries, many, and a lot from America are reaching out to Romania and beginning to build orphanages, privately run Christian orphanages, and that's the kind of orphanage I was a privilege to go to. It was a wonderful experience. It was
How many
such a
kids
contrast.
were in this orphanage?
They had, it was always rising. There are desperate children out there, but
They get babies left on the doorstep?
they do. They pray about all the children that they take in, and they have one orphanage built. They are planning to build 5 orphanages.
Wow.
So it's a process they're doing right now.
What group is this that's doing this?
Walk in the Light Ministries.
Praise the Lord.
And I was there. It's a wonderful group, but it's interesting. The Lord chose, or it just so happens that these kind of people are running this orphanage. They're all young people in their 20s. Not any of them have had children.
They've got the energy.
They have the energy, but they have no
kids.
no children, and no experience. But except that they have always loved children and have worked with them, you know. So they said, please come, and since you're a mother of 4 children, teach us something, you know, from the Bible, from the Word.
What did you teach them?
I was able to teach them biblical principles, the role of fathers and mothers, and the role of children in the family, the authority structures, and how that all works, and how it's a good thing, and that God has set up. The book of Proverbs is a wealth of information on how God raises us as His children, and then we can raise our children in the same fashion, and it helps us to also be obedient to our Father and to understand what He's accomplishing in us. It's a place of safety to be under His loving authority and His care. It's a place of being taken care of. I was able to also encourage the Romanian workers. They have, we have many Americans over there working in the orphanage, but also many Romanian workers. And it helped them to understand the vital role, the important role they're playing in the restoration of their nation by raising children in a fashion where they learn about God. Their lives get restored from their past. They have most of them have horrendous stories from their past, and many of their parents have died. So it was very encouraging for me to be able to share that with them. They just soaked it in and took it in and gave them hope that the work that they do every day has an impact.
Wow, so specifically advice for people that they could apply here. The father should love the mother. What like 2-3 things?
Well, there's many scriptures. It's a 6-hour seminar, but the parents have been given the responsibility to raise their children, to know the Lord, to love Him, to walk in His ways, and they show their children this by example, by teaching also, by speaking, but by showing and living it themselves. And then there is a command for children. It says to obey your parents and honor them, mother and father. And so when both of the parents and the children are obeying the Lord, then it brings a wonderful unity.
That's great.
There are many promises too for parents and children.
Share 1 or 2.
Yeah, it says that if you obey the Lord in these things, that you'll live a long life and it'll go well with you in the earth.
Right, that's true. That's really great. So then the children would know that they're loved. They would be disciplined from evil and to good, and would be able to be creative and productive.
Yes, it sets them free to follow their giftings and their strengths instead of always dealing with the conflicts.
And that's, of course, assuming that the parents, or in this case the Romanian staff, would be loving, kind, have the heart of Jesus towards these kids. We're not talking about abusive people here, because that's a whole different ballgame. That's wonderful. Did you see results, or did they communicate that with you later?
I love to tell the story. This orphanage had such a happy atmosphere in it. The children smiled all the time. They hugged and greeted one another, and they greeted me. They learned my name right away, and they would say my name, and it had a wonderful atmosphere because they do these things there. Great.
And you were able to take what you'd learned in your own family situation and communicate it and see fruit there. I'm glad to hear there's orphanages. Once I read an article in the Los Angeles Times around 1990, and it blew me away so bad I went in the schoolroom and locked myself in for the hour and just cried and prayed to the Lord, God, send them help over there, they need help. I didn't realize that the media coverage of that had closed off further access. I thought things were maybe getting better, but what's happening is we're just not hearing. But that's wonderful that God has raised up you and other groups to go in and really try to help the Romanian kids who are really suffering. If there were one message that you had to leave, what would it be of the world here?
I can just speak from my own personal experience and from what Jesus and His ways have done for me. And the world, when you come to know Jesus, the world opens up to you, not only the world but also heaven. That you have many opportunities and exciting things you never thought would be coming your way. I never expected these things.
That's wonderful. We're going to end the show with another song called Has Your World Ever Fallen Apart? A lot of the Romanian children's world, and perhaps yours, with the earthquake, the riots, and all the other things, your world has fallen apart. So let's listen to the hope in this song. Has your world ever fallen apart? Has everything you hoped for passed away? Look to the Lord when it's breaking your heart to rise each morning and struggle through the day. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. If you do, you'll never be the same. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. Sing His praise as you call upon His name. seems why they're shattered and torn when other people can't seem to understand. Look to the Lord when you'd rather give up. Pour out your heart and take hold of His strong hand. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. If you do, you'll never be the same. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. Sing His praise as you call upon His name. And then the Lord will draw nigh to you and hold you in His hand. He'll lift you up, place your feet on rock, lead you into the promised land. Each new day lift your life up to Him, praise His name for what He's gonna do. Do this by faith though your world seems unchanged, 'cause it's Jesus who's gonna bring you through. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. If you do, you'll never be the same. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. Sing His praise as you call upon His name. One day soon we'll be up there with Him. All our heartbreak will totally be gone. So soon forget all our suffering here. So let's join our hearts together with this song. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. If you do, you'll never be the same. Sing hallelujah, sing hallelujah. Sing His praise as you call upon His name. Oh Lord, won't you now draw nigh to us and hold us in your hand. Please lift us up, place our feet